Welcome to I Love Myself Fix presents Coming Into Grace, a new podcast hosted by mother and son duo at Courtney's Fix and at Asha's Fix. And today we're joined by David. How you doing, man?
What's going on, you guys? I see I didn't put my last name on here, but that's okay. You guys know who I am.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My mom says you all are tight friends.
I'm gonna close this door.
Tight.
I don't know when I met you. I just know that I know you. You know how that's how long you know people.
Right.
You just know
So
them.
we moved to Oakland in 1980.
Mm.
So I was in the 9th grade. You were the year behind me because you came down in 81. You were right behind me. But David was 3 years older than me. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Got it.
And I know we met, I can't tell you exactly which event, but it had to be some kind of NMA, Black Doctor, Sinclair Miller. It was somewhere in the Oakland Hills Black Professional Community event line.
Got it. Yeah, I just know that I always, it was interesting because Oakland, we had this phenomenal group of doctors and professionals. There were doctors, lawyers, everything, a phenomenal community. And then with that, there were all the kids. And that's all we did was spend time together, event after event after event. It was phenomenal. And for whatever reason, I think it's because of David, which is no surprise. I loved my brother so much that because of that, I ended up becoming friends with more guys than I did girls, which is, again, no surprise. And so I would find myself riding around. I'm not even sure I could drive, riding around as David and they're careening through the hills and I'm just in the back seat riding.
Oh my God.
And I set a value to be allowed to sit in that back seat.
To get in the car.
And they cursed worse than sailors.
Wow.
Worse than sailors.
Wow.
And I was sitting back there and I was like, if I'm quiet, maybe they won't notice me and won't kick me out of the car.
Oh no, I mean, I tell everybody we pretty much grew up on a racetrack.
Right.
And it was because that's how you got to everybody's neighborhood. I lived on one part of the hills. Keith lived like a 2-minute drive from me. Earl was like another minute past there.
Yeah.
All you guys that were on the Cameron, Kerrigan, Lockhart, Elvesa, Ettrick track, that was like 7 minutes away. And everything was, you got really good because you learned the road. So, we probably doing way more than we should have been. Actually, yes, we were.
Yes, we were.
We're extremely lucky and blessed that nobody really hurt themselves up there because there were people that did crash and perish. And
yeah, there were people from high school.
Courtney was one we always looked out for. Good or bad, I mean, I don't know. It probably blocked maybe some of her blessings from someone who might have liked her, but if they weren't going to act right, sure, there are plenty of us who are going to make sure she was okay.
Well, which was also another problem because that's why I never had a boyfriend. Never.
Hey, they tell me right now, my little daughter, she's going to be 10, and my nephews are like, man, good thing we're a little distance from her because if we're around, Devin would never be able to go out with anybody. And I'm like,
No.
Man.
David, would you share with us a little bit about what you do for a living? Because what you do is really cool, and how long you've been doing it.
So I moved out here in 2011, and in 2013, actually, I'm coming up on my 7-year anniversary with the Richmond Fire Department. So I was hired by the Richmond Fire Department July 15th, 2013. So our class was 2013-1. There were 24 of us, and I believe maybe 21. I can't remember now. Someone will probably see this and correct me, but at least 3 or 4 people didn't make it all the way through. But now I've worked at the same station. I had like a 6-month fire training academy, like recruit class, they call it. And then after that, I got assigned to Station 15 in the city of Richmond, actually in an area called Highland Park. I work on B shift. There's 3 different shifts, A, B, and C shift. And I'm currently working on B shift at an Engine 15. We're an engine company, not a truck company. So like when you see so technically the ones that you see that just have hose and stuff, those are engines. When you see the big ladders on the top,
yeah,
those are trucks. And I work for a ladder company.
oh.
I'm sorry, for engine company.
Oh, okay.
It's been fun. I mean, you know, it was kind of hard at my stage in life, but actually I had a couple people I knew that worked for the fire department were like, hey man, you know, you should apply, they're hiring. And I was like, there's no way they're going to hire me, man. He said, yeah, there is. And I actually got in, and it's been great, man. I love it. I love it.
There's something, well, you know, in California, it's, from what I know, somebody like David, somebody's going to see this and bust me out. But you know, it always seems so difficult to get on with the firefighters at home, you know, in Oakland, and even just the whole process. So when I heard, I was like, that is super cool, because that's not easy, not to mention the stress, not to mention all the other responsibilities that we don't think about happen at all and know nothing about in this process.
Well, you know, so of course, initially you apply like anything else, but then, when I went to go take the written test, people would come from all over the place. I didn't realize that there's some people that go from city to city, state to state, applying for these jobs because they're hard to come by. They're really coveted. So when people get them, they usually make a career out of them. And so the guy told us something like 2,800 people applied. They looked at 2,300 applications. They ended up, I believe, maybe 1,200 people took the written test, and like 6:50 in the morning and 5:50 in the afternoon. And out of that, they came to a class of 24 people.
Wow.
And, you know, I just happened to be, I don't know if I got in because I was old, like, you know, they didn't want a discrimination case for, you know, the geriatric rookie or what, but it doesn't matter. I just told myself every day I was going to keep coming every day until they told me not to. We did like crazy CrossFit workouts every day. I hadn't worked out. I mean, I was good at running, but all the push-ups and weightlifting and stuff, I mean, so some of that was a little difficult. I was basically back in like what seemed like medical school because, you know, we have to be EMTs. In order to be a firefighter in the state of Virginia, you have to be an EMT as well, at least EMT basic. So I had to pass that, and that's the thing that stopped people from going further. Like if you didn't pass EMT, you didn't get to go to the fire portion of the academy.
And so then how was that during COVID? What was that, you know, or it still is, but
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When it first hit, how did that change for you?
Well, so what happened with the COVID is the COVID hit, and so we kind of had to go on a different response model. A lot of the silly stuff we were going to, they weren't having us go to, like, because we go to everything, you know, choking. I'm not trying to downplay it, but I'm saying like some stuff isn't such a big deal. So they have different priorities for the level that they put them out at. So we're just going to more of like the higher priority calls. So really, it made our volume go down exponentially, like maybe down 50% throughout the whole city. Okay. So what we had to do is you have to ask the 4 questions they ask you anywhere else, like, you know, have you had any symptoms, you know, have you traveled out of the country, have you been around anyone, you know, all that. And they ask it at the when you call into 911. However, like we still ask when we call them like doorway triage, you ask when we get to the door to see what's going on. And if anyone has any positive symptoms, then we have to do the whole thing, the Tyvek suit, gloves, everything, no matter what, minimum is gloves and an N95 mask.
Got it.
I'm sorry, I take this blood pressure medicine and it gives me this stupid dry cough.
Were you drinking milk?
Nah, man. Look, here's a plug. Simply Lemonade.
Oh, it looks white. Yes, you could.
Send me my check, bro. Simply Lemonade. That's right. Coming into Grace presents Simply Lemonade. Simply Lemonade.
Oh.
Contact Courtney for my address and my contact information for my check, please.
I mean, he just like,
Nothing is free, brother. Nothing is free except the love.
love it. I love it. Simply Lemonade.
I don't even have a car. Come on, it's on you now.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
This is how we spend our whole life, man. We have a lot of fun, man.
Oh no,
This is what we do.
my mom's already a lot of fun, so I can't imagine what y'all did back then.
Oh, she's great. She's great.
I can't imagine.
I remember one time, and then we're going to get back to business. So one time it was a prom, and I was going to the prom, and I had my prom dates. You know, I'd done like
Dates?
let me clean that up. So I decided to have a dinner party because it's Courtney and food. So there was like maybe 6 of us. And so I don't know how you got wind of it, you and Keith. So the next thing I know, like, you know, I made like chocolate mousse and all this other stuff. And David would always just show up at the door. Mom loved David. Didn't matter. She loved him. David could come in with dead cats. And she would
Like,
oh, David, come on in. And so David shows up. I'm dressed up, you know, got all the dates. And I'm like serving. David comes in. What is going on here? And it's just like, and the dates are like, it's like a chamber. Like it's a whole, like, no. David comes in breaking the sound barrier. Like he's just,
yeah.
And then he goes into the kitchen where my mom is. Are you having this, Gwen? Is this what's going on? I was like, oh God, this is just terrible.
Look here, man.
Did you get some food?
Your grandmother was truly a great. I mean, she was beautiful. She was classy. She was fun, and that was the thing too. See, like a lot of the people in our community were like new money Black folks. You know, my dad didn't come from much. You know, I mean, really from nothing. And these guys like ended up. They were very, very smart, and they took advantage of that, and they went to medical school. And so a lot of them kind of had known each other a little bit. Like the network was deep between Black colleges or just friendships. Or, hey, you're in Oakland. Well, you got to meet Donald Townsend. He's an orthopedic surgeon. You got to meet, you know, like I saw you guys talk to Allie. You know, you have to meet Jackson Ross. And, you know, I know Jackson Ross. We're in the Navy together and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it was very, very family oriented and it was fun. And so of course, some people were too smart and very bougie about it. You know, oh, well, excuse me, yes, I'm, you know, you're listening to dinner party conversation like, dude, you're boring. Like everyone in here is a doctor. We know you're a doctor. Like, settle down. You know, and other people were just like, hey, you know, let me get another drink. Are there any more ribs? And like, you know, turn the music up. Let's kick it. And that's kind of what it was. And when you went to anyone's house, it was like it was your own house. You know, there wasn't a time I could go to, you know, several of our folks' house, but like Courtney said, I come to her house anytime. Be like, hey, what's up? You know, I mean, we've been in Hawaii together, you know, oh man, and like Enid, man. I mean, oh man, I'm telling you, man, like, man, the Townsend family has always been very, very special to me. You know, your Uncle David, I was wild, man. I was wild. And your Uncle David was the one who had enough love for me to be like, hey, man, you got to start going to class. Your uncle was at Morehouse doing a semester or whatever, or studying from Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Came down and, you know, we were riding around in BMWs and doing all kinds of little spoiled little Oakland kids acting up. And David said, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what's up, man? He said, dude, you need to start going to class. He said, man, you know, these girls like guys that are, you know, that are going somewhere, man. Like, you're going to have some fun right now. But, man, like, you know, you need to go to class and start studying. And I was like, all right, man, right on. And kept wilding out and ended up, my dad came and took me home from Morehouse. That's one of my biggest mistakes that I made. You're able to come back from stuff due to how you're built. But as you get older, like, I don't know. My biggest regret, Morehouse is the only school I wanted to go to. Jay Jackson introduced me to it. He's your uncle and Allie's age. And like a lot of us had gone out that way. Your mom came to spend there. Oakland was deep down there.
Yeah.
And but I was just a little bit I was just too spoiled and having too much fun partying and hanging out to handle my business. And I ended up, I'm really smart, which kind of bothers me too. It's like, I read people's emails and text messages. I'm like, dude, you've got a degree? Gosh, man, I should have paid attention, but it's good, man. I'm very proud of my friends. Everyone's done well. Everyone's gone on to do, everyone's gone on to do well. And I've never been a hater. I think that the more of us do better, the better it is for everybody. And, everything's great right now, but, it's through the village that we had. And we were raised around people that were achievers, that didn't mind being encouraging, and they weren't threatened by our youth. They were like, hey man, like, hey, look, you can have a Range Rover too, brother. Like, see, people think all this stuff is new. There's been Beamers and Furs and Rolexes and Range Rovers and Jeep Wagoneers and Mercedes and all that. None of this is new. But I think we're really blessed, to have the upbringing that we had. And of course, when it's your turn, you don't necessarily appreciate it. But you get older, you think about how much it costs to take you on those trips now. Or, summer shopping sprees. It's nothing to go shopping in San Francisco. I remember your mom was the first one that had the cool little seal with the beach ball on her shirt. I was like, man, Courtney, what is that? She, this came from Wilkes-Bashford. Only people in the Bay know what Wilkes-Bashford is. That was Barney's before Barney's.
Right.
So.
Of course you would say that.
Well, it didn't even.
That's no word, man. She was no more bougie than the rest of us. That's what it was.
But what it was is that was so phenomenal. And what David's saying is, you had this group of people. They were all brilliant.
They sure were.
And they were determined, because there's brilliant people all over the world.
Yeah.
In all stages of life. But for whatever reason, this particular group, as there were others in other cities, because we met them during the summers, but this group, they just kept pushing. And they were like, whatever there is that out there in that world, I'm going to give it, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to give it to my children. And that is what we experienced. But, I got to watch my tongue, but, there is, different people have different level of intelligence in different ways, and it gets exhibited. However, not to mention the fact that I believe that educational institutions can very much dictate where you go, because if your intelligence level is not being addressed in the way that that institution is teaching, you can get lost. And so a lot of people just think, well, you didn't do well here. And one of the things that I believe that is truly happening now that's beautiful is that there are more ways that people are able to, if you decide, to be able to demonstrate what they're good at in different ways. And when we were young, that wasn't the case. There was like 5 or 6 paths. And if you didn't fall straight in that path, then it got rocky. And so I say that as well, David, because you've always been brilliant. And one of the things that I've always loved about you is just, it's that unrelenting but very honest humor. And to me, but I think, it bothered some. And so,
Yeah.
but
I like my crew up all the time, and I know some days I know they're like, man, I really wish he would just shut up. But it's all out of love,
But,
I mean, that's what we learned, to crack jokes on each other and have fun. You knew when it was personal and when it was just fun.
yeah.
And oh man, I mean, I could just, I'm really, I'm really happy to see you doing this in conjunction with your son and just all the stuff you guys are trying to work out together, because like, you mentioned paths, right? See, other communities, they have ways of sharing their wealth with their kids that we don't really have, like with parents being doctors. Like when my father died, I wasn't an OBGYN, so I couldn't step in and be like, whoo, like I've worked in or whatever, what have you. So like what you're in the process of building right now is beautiful, because you have a chance to bring him along. And so I love the young people right now.
I do too.
I love the young people right now. I love the young people who are open and who are sharp and who are engaged, if that makes sense. Like some of these kids are locked in right now. And they're like you said, I don't really have to go to, sure, it's nice education, I believe, like, hey man, worst comes to worst, they can never take that piece of paper from you, right? But there's so many other things that people can do. People are making money while they're in college, or they're doing little blogs, or they've got a poetry thing, or they've got a martial arts thing, or whatever it is that they're good at. Now you can have a YouTube channel, you can make TikTok videos and dance around, and there's so many things you can do. But the beauty of it, you're doing it together as a family. And good, bad, or indifferent, you'll succeed together, or you'll take your lumps together, and then you'll just readjust. Because see, we're adjustable people. We have been since we've been here. So everything ends up working out, I believe, by the grace of a loving God, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it works out the way it's supposed to work out. Whatever my path was, it's what it is. And I've had some good stuff and some bad stuff happen to me, and then I'm having good stuff again. It's just what happens, but it's how you handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad for the COVID in a sense, because it's giving people the time to sit their punk asses down and reach out to their friends again.
Mm-hmm.
And like Drake said it, no new friends. See, the other thing I'm going to say really, really quickly is most people don't think that people like us exist.
Right. And that's what we
They don't
do.
think that people like us exist. They don't think that blacks come from professional families that have done well, that have, remember the old school ski trips? Whoever was on that bus on the ski trip was who looked like us at Squaw Valley.
Yeah.
At North Star, at Alpine Meadows.
Yeah.
And it was a Jack and Jill bus, and we'd go up there, and there'd be a couple parents that went Jack and Jill camp. We go to the camp in the middle of the woods, whole bunch of black folks kicking it. One of my greatest stories ever about Miss Gwen was on that trip. That was the greatest. She, as they say, Miss Gwen was a G for real. She was the best. And she didn't care, and she loved it. I loved her. Mm-hmm. She was awesome. And what I'm saying is, we do exist. We're educated. We speak well. We've been exposed. We've traveled as children. We've been giving opportunities that most people that look like us don't get. Mm-hmm. And some of us take advantage of it, and some of us don't. But no matter what, at the end of the day, your parents are looking down, and my dad's looking down. He sees, hey, you know what? Even though I think at a certain time I'd rather smash my head through a window than talk to David again right now. He's like, he took in the lessons, and he's I hope he's proud of me right now. But It seems so lame to be 54 and be like, man, I hope my dad's proud of me. But it's just the truth. But I think what you guys are doing is great. I tried to get my son to come. He said, I don't want to be on a podcast. I said, I just want you guys to see this little baby giant. But he's 15. He doesn't really, he's like, whatever, dude, do your thing.
Is he taller than you?
Yeah.
Okay.
David is 6 feet tall. I'm 5'10". David is like 6 feet. And he's like, I don't know. He had to weigh in for football today. I think he's like 206, 207, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's only 15. So it'll probably stretch out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see. He plays defensive lineman. So we'll see what he's got this year,
What do you, well, this is such an interesting season because we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's coming and what's going, How have you been able to manage that?
So, honest, if I'm really, really extremely honest, which I'm going to be with you, I haven't been managing this so well, quite honestly.
Yeah.
The COVID thing is whatever it is. See, the problem is it's all the uncertainty, correct? I'm sure it's the same down there. When it gets hot, it'll go away. It only affects sick, older people or people who are predisposed to bad health conditions or things like that, right? Here where we are, they said that, out of all the cases of people that died, they were Black. Come on, man. Like, really? Okay. And then when they said, oh, we've got an uptick, but it's through the Spanish community, So you've got certain people out here who really aren't believing that this thing is real.
Oh.
And we've got a mandatory thing through the governor to wear the mask while you're inside places. And some people just refuse to wear masks. I'm not wearing the mask for me. I'm wearing the mask so hopefully I don't get somebody sick that gets their elderly. I mean, I didn't hug my mom for months. And the last time I did, I was kind of like, hey, you don't want to be the reason. My wife has been a great source because, see, we got the double whammy. We got the COVID and we got George Floyd at the same goddamn time.
Right.
I mean, are you fucking kidding me? I've done good with the cussing, sorry, but that's honestly how I feel. Like, really? So we got the COVID, everybody's locked in. Now we got George Floyd protests everywhere. The night they went the most crazy here was a night I was scheduled to work. But like back in November, we picked days. So I don't have any days off in June. I guess I'll take this Saturday. And it ended up being the Saturday that my crew didn't sleep all night. And they I think we had 9 working fires in the city. It's just nuts, man.
Yeah.
I've been reaching out for allies, and some people are showing themselves to be allies, and some people are showing themselves to want to remain silent, and it's a little disturbing sometimes. As we know, that's another thing about being from Oakland. You got a whole lot of Black pride. You Black parents. You've been telling me my dad marched the 2nd March in 1965 with Martin Luther King from Selma to Montgomery. Well, it's 2020.
Yeah.
We're still marching for the same stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I've got a white wife who understands the struggle. She's very, very great. She's cool. However, as much as she understands, and she really, really does, she gets it. But it's still, they're like little nicks on our soul all the time. And then finally it just gets to be too much and this shit goes boom.
Yeah.
Now, I should be burning up stuff and breaking business windows and all that. No, I don't. As a former entrepreneur owning my own business, don't break the window on my business, man. Like, don't do that. March on. But I had to, have been able to cope. I can honestly tell I have a great relationship with my wife. and we love each other deeply, and we've always been able to really communicate. And I was able to tell her, hey, look, I'm really not okay right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like shit. This shit it's pissing me off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to process all this, which I really can't process.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It's sad. See, I believe too, Peter Moreau, you know, Pete, he brought up a good point on a whole big Zoom call. He said, well, do you think that COVID what made this particular murder by the police any different than the other one?
Right,
Do you think COVID? Well, that's a beautiful question. And it's really one that if you think about, you got to think about it for a second. But my take on that was, number one, everybody's home, just like we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Osh isn't out in the streets going to see what's up, hanging out with folks. Everybody's at home right now, so everyone's kicking it, coming more together family-wise or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other good thing for me is I've got a good, like if you had a bad relationship right now, boy, this would be unbearable, But it was the COVID, but also the fact, so, when you see a guy running away and the police shoot him or shooting real quick, you hear some gunshots in the video and you see the guy's dead, that's one thing, right? But when you actually watch this man kneel on this man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with his hands in his pockets like a Captain Morgan video,
yeah,
and didn't flinch while this man's begging for his life, that was extremely, extremely disturbing.
Yeah.
It was hurtful.
Yeah.
And it was infuriating at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the disadvantages of us growing up as privileged little Black kids is we got to drive around in really nice cars in nice neighborhoods. And I have been pulled over in my neighborhood. I've had a gun pulled on me in my driveway by the Oakland police, which I will say was a Black police officer. It was not a white police officer. But he did not believe that I lived in that house.
Yeah.
And the burglar alarm had gone off. And I told that man, I said, you know what? Because I've always been kind of bold. And I was like, hey, man, I'm going to walk up here. I swear to God, everything I love. I said, I'm going to walk over here to this door. I'm going to unlock this door. And then when I unlock this door, then we'll see what you have to say then. Thank God he didn't shoot me, because looking back, I probably shouldn't have been so bold, because he didn't know who I was. But I opened up the door and they said, oh, well, man, well, gee, what do your parents do for a living? How long have you lived? I've had all those questions before. I fit the description. This car, so this big, both our parents had big brown four-door Mercedes. So this car fits the car that, was used in a robbery. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Really? No, it wasn't.
Right.
No, I've been at Skyline High School, parked on the corner of Skyline and Balmoral with my lights on, waiting for Felix to get out of school one day. And Oakland police rolled up on me all crazy on the motorcycles because I had my hazards on in a non-hazardous situation. I was also 19 years old in a brand new BMW. That's what they do. But I reached back to zip up a backpack. I had a 6-pack of beer in, truth be told. And they panicked and pulled all these guns out and snatched me out of the car. You know how they do. So when I saw the George Floyd thing, it was just disturbing, And one hand, I want to expose myself, but I don't, because some of the people I know out here don't really realize how educated I am on the Black stuff. And I just don't want to, I don't want to piggyback off of what Allie said yesterday when I watched you guys' video, but it's true. I told my wife, we're tired of having to make ourselves palatable despite our status, despite what we've achieved. Why do we have to prove to you who we are? Why do I have to be palatable? Why can't you?
Yeah.
Why can't you just treat people like a human being and be nice? And that's what I try to do. I have people right now that I know I have different views from, that look different than me, that are out here. I pretty much live in a red county. But if I called a couple of these dudes, they'd ride over here like I was their brother, and they would handle whatever had to be handled with someone out here that thought that they were going to give me a problem. Straight up. We also know the skin isn't always kin, just like he talked about too.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, unfortunately, we have to look out for each other, which is really, really unfortunate. But I believe that there's been a systematic way of the way we've been treated here, from the African slave trade to, because see that we're the strong ones because we're here.
Yeah.
You know, we were taken because we come from a certain stock and whatever, and then now, and we made it across, and now we're here, right? There are no African settlers that are Americans, you know, really. I'm sure there may be a couple, because, you know, Africans been all over the world, right?
Right.
But we were brought here on ships as slaves. And so we were treated a certain way. And so they've always treated us like that. Like we've always been less than, you know. And I can remember Dr. Booker getting beat up by the Hayward police twice. So doctor in a big body Mercedes, you know, which nowadays would be like an S550, S560. You know, he got snatched out of his car twice by the Hayward police and beat. So what we always have to remember is kind of what Don King says, which, you know, I don't know who may watch this and might not like this, but at the end of the day, no matter who you are, if you're Black, you're always going to be a blank in America to a certain extent. You'll always have to prove yourself. You'll always have to make yourself palatable. You always, if you want to play the game, unfortunately, we have to live two different lives. You live one life that you can be around your folks and your family and all that other stuff. And you have another life where, you know, you got to be careful because you'll get excluded.
Yeah. Depending on.
You have to be the best. If you're not the best, you don't make it.
Yeah. Mediocre doesn't get rewarded.
Hey, what did Alice say? Excellent. You have to be effing excellent.
Yeah.
I remember when my aunt was doing a residency or internship, she was doing something at, I believe, MD Anderson in Houston. And some of the other students would just say, were able to be out there on the grass, you know, in the sun, kicking back. And she's like, I could never be out there like that, you know, because then you're not taking this seriously. You know, shut up and dribble, right? You know, you're not grateful for this opportunity. You know how many people from where you're from would want to be here right now, you know, and all that. Like, if you've academically achieved enough to be where you are and you're able to pay your way, however that looks, loans, family, whatever, then you belong just as much as anybody else, you know? And I think at times people just, I mean, like right now, that's the problem with social media too. As great as social media is exposing some people for who they really are. And you would hope that they really weren't like that because you kind of love them too. But man, you can't really love me, and this is what you feel, man.
Right.
And you know, you can post all the stuff in the world on social media if you want to, but if you know me and you haven't taken the time to, you know, see how my wife and my family, like, you know, call my wife, be like, man, how are you feeling right now? You know, like, I know we'll get through this because, believe it or not, this is not the worst time. The racism that's being showed right now didn't start with 45. You know, it's been here. What I love right now is that there's a lot of young people right now who are like, we're not having it. And they're young people that don't look like us. And they're out there and they're like, hey, we're not having it.
Yeah.
So, you know, for every, well, all lives matter. You know, there's something like, no, dude, sure they do. But all lives aren't getting killed like we are for this period of time. Like, it's enough. Like, let's figure out how to make this work. Really, we need to, America is divided right now. The most I've seen that I've been aware of, you know, in quite a long time. And I call myself Black. I don't really do the whole African American thing. That's just my thing because I don't know where I'm from in Africa. So if the shit jumps off here, I can't go to, you know, Gambia. I've got to go to Philadelphia or Oakland, you know? So I don't have a tribe I can trace back. You know, I can't afford to pay Henry Louis Gates to find out where my folks really are. So I'm Black.
Right. Right. I mean, there's something about, there are so many beautiful points that are occurring right now. And
Yes.
and the one that I am thoroughly enjoying for sure is the young people, like you're saying, who are of cultures all over the world that are like, oh, but especially the Americans, they were like, oh, I see, you've been hiding this. Like you were teaching something else. And then, we just thought those were just bad guys running down the street. Or we just, thought that that those people were really special, and just criminals. We didn't know that this was occurring and has been occurring. As Americans, because of what we stand for, we have been talking about equality, right? For many years now.
Yeah.
And so with that, if you drink the juice, which for you to achieve, I mean, and that's the rub, right? That is the rub. So if you do well academically, if you pass the AP history test, you become the historian, you get the high numbers on the SAT, and you keep moving up, then in that you have just been digesting year after year a whole bunch of information that is erroneous. And so with that, then you turn around and then you find out that a whole bunch of information has been suppressed.
Yeah.
And that your families, in fact, don't even believe it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the young kids, they are simply splayed out. They're splayed out emotionally, and like I had a young woman that I really love. She's from Romania. She comes over, she's like a little sprite. And I don't know, she's like 20. And then she's got a mask, she's got everything on. And she was like, Courtney, I just need to see you. And I was like, okay, and she's out protesting every day. And, and so then I go, okay, come in, just have a cup of tea. And then we sit out on the balcony and she just loses it. Like she can't be but 90 pounds.
Right.
Sure.
And she's just like, this is bullshit. I mean, and she is losing it and she's crying. And, and I know that it is hurting her soul genuinely because she's like, I don't, and that's the deal. And that's really in the most hurtful, but most wonderful ways. The thing I love most in life next to loving is change. I love change. And so for me, watching these people, these young people deal with and say, I'm willing to walk toward change. That's phenomenal.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Right. It's crazy that that's what we're willing to accept right now.
Yeah.
That's really crazy.
Yeah. So.
Like just change. Like that's all we're really asking for.
Yeah.
Well, we want to be treated fairly. I've got a situation going on right now that I'm not going to talk about on this. It has nothing to do with me, but with someone that's close to me. And the situation is just not fair, and it's just not fair. There's not being an equal accountability for the same action as there is with someone else, and it's troubling. And then you have to explain this stuff to your kids, like, hey, man, I live in a very, very nice place. I live in a very, very nice neighborhood right now. The thing that we wanted to move into the city, but the schools out here are great. The city schools aren't that good. So in order for my son to go, who's with us primarily all the time, if in order for him to go to school, you know, I'd have to spend like $20,000-$30,000 on a private school. Why do that when I'm already out here in this great school, one of the best school districts in the state for free?
Yeah.
What comes with that is a complete lack of diversity out here, which is, and so that's what the problem is, right? Everybody, blacks have opinions about white people that don't know white people. White people have opinions about black people they've never spoken to. They have opinion, but we all have, you know, I've been looking at all this other stuff again, like that you already know, but just like a little refresher, like on the unconscious bias, you know? I will tell you this too. Some of the people that look a certain way out here are not the ones that don't like you. They're the ones that are more kind. It's some of the ones that you know, are more, I don't know. I'm just gonna say, so the guys that look like rednecks and look like they're racists, they're actually cool more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
The dude with the Bentley that lives across the street from me that won't wave when he, you know, leaves out the neighborhood, when everybody waves at everybody, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and as light as I am, that's what I always try to explain to people of color, right? If you're dealing with someone that doesn't like black people, they don't care if you're a dark-skinned black person or you're a light-skinned black person. I don't even know if this particular guy, if that's what his deal is. I'm just saying people that are hateful of a group don't like all of you. Don't like all of us. We know that. They'll make comments. We were at Bishop O'Dowd. They'd make comments about certain other black students that went to school there, and you'd hear them say, and you'd be like, well, man, you know what? Okay, well, I'm one too. And when Osh comes, I'm going to tell him you said it, and we'll see if you have that same energy when Osh shows up. And they won't. They won't. I'm just too old, and I've been through too much. I've seen a lot. And so it's like, you know, I like to get along with people that want to get along with me. If you don't want to get along with me, I'm fine. But just don't pretend we're cool now that like Courtney's here. Because, you know, Courtney gets along with you. Now all of a sudden you're speaking to me. Every time I see you, don't speak to me, you know. I like to spread love. I like to be cheerful at work. I like to joke around. When it's time to go, when it's time to get busy, it's time to get busy. But we could have fun while we're out here together, engage with it. We spend 24 hours together. I've got a little young 24-year-old guy that's a rookie. He just completed his first year, so he's no longer a rookie. But he's from out here, from around where I live, and he's been a guy. He's been a great kid to have, you know. He just has he's an ally, you know. I mean, he something came up about, I hate calling it the N-word because that's not what people really say, but I'll do that for the facts of this. But we're speaking of the N-word, you know, and he said to me, and he didn't even know me, and he wasn't, and I've learned enough about him that he doesn't say what he wants to say to be okay with you, right? He's going to just, hey, man. And he said, you know, I hate that word. He said, I don't like it when anyone uses it. And I was like, all right, man. You know, that was pretty cool. But if people take the time to talk to people that don't look like them more, and that's what's wrong where I live right now, is just historically people have been separated here. I live in Richmond. I live outside of Richmond, Virginia, and people don't associate with each other, really. Not really. You know, you go to an event, it's a black event. You go to an event, it's a white event. You know, there might be 4 other black people. I went to a fundraiser here, and, you know, there was like 3 of us in the whole thing. You know, I was like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, because where we come from, it's not like that. Right. You know, you see a little bit of everybody. And that's what I think, like, people need to take the time out to talk to people that don't look like them and see what they have in common. You know, brothers hunt too, brothers fish too, brothers, you know, like 4-wheelers too, or whatever else could be attributed to someone else. But I think when we really speak to each other, we learn that in our hearts, we all have a lot more in common than we have separate. Mm-hmm. But the conversation will come from, my wife says, you know, my wife told me, you know, white people really just don't know what to say to us. So some of us don't want to say anything because they don't want to come across like they're patronizing us, or like they're intruding, or like because they know deep down they really can't feel like we feel, but they can't empathize with us. But they just don't know what to say because they don't want to say the wrong thing and come across wrong during these times. And so I can respect that.
Yeah.
But I feel that saying something, just showing that you care and that you want to try and that you're coming from a place of, we understand that it's even not part of your culture to do that. But if you were to just try, I really appreciate that when white people at least try. They're like, they always come in very awkward, and you can already tell before they say anything.
Sure.
And usually if you want to give them the space to do that, you give them the space to do that. And you try and make it easier for them to, they always want to apologize, but it's not really, it's like, we understand that it's not your fault, but like still you are a part of the problem if you don't do anything.
Yes.
So we're just asking you to use the privilege that you have, because you do have privilege. Use the privilege that you have for others. And
yes.
That's it. Just be compassionate and use what you have for others.
Yeah. Check your friends when you hear them say something funny about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
See, what I always wonder is, so I'll give you another example. This actually happened to me last week. I ran into a friend of a friend in a parking lot when I was out in another area out here. And so he says, so he knows I'm a firefighter. He says, hey man, like, are you out there burning down the city? And at first I thought he was talking about in reference to a fire.
That's exactly what I thought. And then I was like,
no, the night that it was really, really bad, like that I was supposed to work, I was off that night. We haven't really had anything like that, blah, blah, blah. So then he says, well, I'll tell you. He said, you want to know what's wrong with the protests? I'm like, oh gosh.
Right. You were like, oh, like.
Because he's probably like in his 60s, Buffalo, New York, the Bills, doesn't let his wife talk to him until a commercial comes on in his TV show, like just, he's one of these guys, right? And he said it to you. We're like, really, dude? Like your wife can't talk to you while you're watching TV? He's just a trip. So I have to put it in context of that as well, right? He says to me, well, you know what's wrong with the protests? I said, what? He said, everybody's running around screaming, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. He said, you know who kills, ready for this? The blacks? I was like, oh, gosh.
Kills what?
who are the blacks and what are they?
The black, instead of calling black people, right, he says the blacks. You've heard that before. He says, you know who kills the blacks? I said, who? He said, the blacks. And so I'll try to give him another pass. I said, hey, man. I said, look. I said, people kill who they live around. Black people kill black people and white people kill white people. He says, no. He says, we're not killers. Oh, and I said, have a nice day. And I turned around, I walked and I got in my truck and I left. Like, man, I don't know. I was just blown away. Like, see, those are the kind of conversations that now I think about it more. I'm like, well, is he asking me, am I burning the city because I'm black? Does he know I'm black? I mean, like, because see, that's what happens sometimes. They get confused. And I get it. But I don't look like their nephew, so they know I'm something different. People say, I get people who say, man, you have such a nice tan. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, I come across this naturally. Like, and even at my most light skin of the light skin in the wintertime, you see me, Courtney, pale as hell. Oh, wow. Where'd you get your tan? Like, what? Like, no. So those are not the kind of conversations. I want people to genuinely want to know, how people may be feeling. And then, but see, the thing is too, if they're going to come speak to us, we need to be willing to listen to them and understand that maybe they're not on board with us. And maybe, but see, that's what's happening now. Every side is either this or that. And it's like, no, I've got to give them the space to be who they are. And they've got to give me the space to be who I am. And without being offended, and then like really be able to talk about it. But eventually we just get exasperated. When you talk to Keith next time, ask him about the country club incident, while he's sitting up there trying to have something to eat. with the news on, and he's like, could you guys change that, because I don't really want to see that. And you know, because he pays his dues too.
Yeah.
You know,
the one thing that, and it's not, and I don't, sometimes I feel like I'm offering like an olive branch, and then there are other times I'm ready to just whoop it up, but
yeah.
But one of the things that I have especially learned, and I've mentioned this before, probably in some other podcasts, is, I outside of taking care of my children and us being okay, one of the things that is a family value for us is to travel. And, but, and I'm only saying, but we don't travel and just go to, we don't travel and go to ritzy hotels and sit in a ritzy hotel somewhere. We travel and we go and we meet people. And
that's right.
And so one of the things that happens though, and the same thing happens here in America, is, and I think people also lose sight of the fact of how big America really is, because America is the size of not 50 countries. America is probably the size of 60 countries.
That's right.
And so with that, if you have someone who is sitting there and watching only local news, so I don't watch television. I got rid of it so long ago because it didn't have anything good to give. Now we have Netflix or whatever, but it was like, there's only so much junk. But if you have people who continually only watch the local news and maybe read a local newspaper, they only are going to get but so much information. And then if they go on social media and they're only in their groups.
Right.
So then they live somewhere in America where it is homogenous.
Right. Yeah.
That, and that there is, to me, an understanding that they have that perspective. I almost never get mad. Like, because I'm like, well, where are you? Where you live? If you tell me you live in 50 miles outside of Richmond, Virginia, and you don't go in, you're not going to dine. You're not going in. And my thing is, if enough, I think we forget that people create, and the media has created, but people create these pockets. And so unless there is some intersection for a dialogue to change, is not going to change. And that is what has made this so incredible. And, and that's what this was. This was like an epicenter. It's like, this was an earthquake, right? It was all these factors that happened. And then, and then there were, reverberations. And so, but that is worldwide. Correct. And so so now this isn't just, this is happening, in California. No. So now that people are seeing pain around the world, and then from that pain around the world, then their hearts were able to open up for some in a different way to see that this pain is existing in another way on top of other pain that's happening. And that to me has been the miracle.
Yep.
So,
well, you've seen pathetic hearts. You've seen people, I mean, they say this is the biggest civil rights movement ever. This thing went all the way around the world, protests in so many countries. And like, that's never happened here. People were protesting for George Floyd out of Port Arthur / Houston, Texas, living in Minnesota. What? Like, how does that, how do people know it is in Bangladesh? In Romania, whatever, you know what I mean? Like everywhere, Germany. They had big stuff and the funny part was they weren't even little small protests. There were thousands of people that came out. Like these things, like, wow, man, look at this. And the beauty of certain things are right now is that you have because of course, there's so many videos you see, and like there's videos where you see kids filming their parents, and their parents are saying certain things, And the kids are like, hey, man, that's not right, Dad. That's not right, Mom. Like, how could you say that about such and such, you know? And that's where, you know, the change comes. Because even if you've been, because, you know, you're a product of your environment one way or the other, you know. The reason why Oakland people are the way Oakland people are is because that's just the way it is. So at the end of the day, you can live in the Oakland Hills, but you got to come down to the flatlands somehow to catch a bus, to go to the store, to do something. And see, Oakland is one of those places where, you know, like in Atlanta, you might be able to just stay in Buckhead if you want to and never see Cascade, do everything you want out there, you know. In Oakland, it's going to intersect one way or the other if you go to do anything, whether you're at a Raider, well, no Raiders now, but, you know, if you're at a game, back when they had like the castle with Malibu Grand Prix, the bumper boats, the miniature golf, those are all right by the projects. And so, you know, if you're in there playing Pac-Man and those guys come in or whatever, like, you know, you have to learn how to interact with everybody. It's good because it teaches you how to interact with everybody. We went to Bishop O'Dowd, but everybody that went to Bishop O'Dowd that were people of color, you know, didn't necessarily have money. Some cats were on scholarships. So you learned to operate with other people. And I think what helped us too in that aspect is because there are members of our families that didn't make it. So, you know, you learn to move and swing in different arenas. And I just wish that there was a little bit more diversity out here for certain people. But you know what? I can't fix all this. I'm not even trying to. I'm just trying to make sure I know the people that love me, and I love the people that I love, and whether they look like me or they don't. But if someone messes with them, I feel like they mess with me, and I'd be there for them, and I think they'd be there for me, you know? Man, God is still the greatest, you know what I mean? I mean, all this, I mean, like, how awesome. I mean, like, man, when you guys went to boarding school in India, like, man, how cool is that? Who can even say they did that?
The people at my school, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, I'll give you another good one. I'm at Bishop O'Dowd one day, and gosh, I wish I could remember her name now. I'll remember it when I'm not on here, but there's probably no need to give her name anyway. But you know, she had these pants on. I don't know, maybe we're like in 10th, 11th grade. She had a really nice pair of pants on, and you were talking about traveling, and I said, "Wow, those are some nice pants." Just being nice, you know. She's like, "Oh, yes, my father brought them back for me from London," right? I looked at her and I said, well, my dad went to London. He took us with him. You know, like, hey, easy there, buddy. You know, you're not the only one that's been somewhere. As a matter of fact, you weren't there, were you? You know? And so I just have remembered. That was funny. I just said, I don't know. But I mean, but I think that's, like you said, no one's done. Only the kids are at my school. Those are the ones that went in India. You know what I mean? I mean, but how cool is that? Like, you know, what was that like for you, man?
That was, I learned so much. I was changed in a multitude of different ways. I learned about people, religion, my body, food, a lot, so much,
Awesome.
a short period of time. And while I was there, I did not even realize how much I learned until I left.
And then you brought it all back with you, not knowing all the stuff you'd internalized. How cool is that? I'll tell you, after a series of things that happened and, you know, when the market went bad and everything, I ended up having to drive the city bus, right? I drove the bus for AC Transit. And it was funny because I didn't really know a lot of Indian cats, right? And I have to tell you that they were just some of the kindest, coolest, spirited people. I mean, and there were 6, and they were like the Punjabi dudes, you know. So some would have the turbans.
Yeah.
Younger ones were kind of like brothers, you know. They kind of thought they were cool. They listened to rap. They drank Hennessy. You know, they were trying to be all cool. Some of them were kind of trying to act like they were gangsters, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Then the Afghanistan guys, you know. But the older dudes, they were cool, man. Even some of the younger ones are like, they would do anything for you. They're very spiritually centered, and they were kind, man. They were kind. And I remember one day I walked to the driver's room, like a TV room, and they were on there. They were speaking in their native language, and they'd be laughing and laughing. And so then I walked in there one day, and they stopped talking. And I said, hey, man. Or I think they were laughing, then they stopped talking. And I said, hey, man, whatever you just said in your language, say it in English so we can all laugh. You know? But they just started laughing at me. But they were so nice. Mm. And the one thing that was funny about them was they did not like to take orders from women, which was like women instructors had a hard time with the Indian males.
Yeah.
They were very, very, I'd never been around them. Like, I mean, of course you'd see them, but I'd never been around. That's what I'm trying to say just about everything, right? If blacks haven't been around blacks, and whites haven't been around whites, you haven't been around Indians, haven't been around, whatever. Try to get around some other people and see if you have something in common with them, because you just never know who you'll meet.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that right there, to me, is like the greatest thing. I mean, that is the greatest. I feel free every time I get on a plane and I go somewhere and I wander around and I meet people, and I feel honored, like on Facebook at times, and have people from all these countries that just say, hey, Courtney. And a lot of them, when I met them, I know they they didn't know much English, and I for sure didn't know their language. But then the picture come up and and it's so sweet. And then they're like, you know, when you coming back, you know, to Albania, when you coming back to, you know, all these places, Montenegro, you know, but I go all those places. That is my goal. My goal is to try to touch every country in the world. That is my personal goal.
That's my personal goal too, yeah.
I remember when you went to France, to Le Cordon Bleu, you know, whatever, however you say it, you know. Yeah. But I mean, like, how cool is that? But see, if you hadn't gone to Le Cordon Bleu, right, you might not have had it in your mind to think, you know what? My kids can go to boarding school in India.
Yeah.
You feel me? Everything works out. And somehow we're all blessed by the experiences we have with everyone we come in contact to. A negative experience can even bless you. A positive experience can bless you, you know? The way I choose to see the problem, the thing is, I don't get in trouble for my thoughts. I get in trouble for my actions, right? Or my reactions. Mm-hmm. You can say anything you want to me. Don't touch me, man. Don't touch me. You touch me, I think it's a whole different game. Right. You can say what you want to say. Right now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to instill some stuff in my son is here with us all the time. My daughter is more or less with her mom. And that has been affected the COVID because she's in the health industry. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying not to really mix up the houses so that the kids and no one gets sick, you know?
Yeah.
But I picked up my daughter for Father's Day, which was great because she is the bomb. You guys would love her. She's great. My son's cool as shit too, but he's just but I'm trying to teach him so many lessons. He's very, very smart. So everything comes easy to him. So like he waits to the last minute and then his grade comes and it's like a B+. And I'm like, dude, man, like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, my parents gave me so much grace and leeway to basically, you know, choke myself with, right? That, you know, you just have to make your own path. And I believe he's going to be fine. He wants to be a pediatrician.
Oh, okay.
So, like, you know, I've thought about asking Keith, could he come down there for like a weekend or something like that, or for like a week and just kind of hang out with them and see what's up, you know, 2 Black doctor family household. Like, hey, man, like, because that was one thing that we knew for sure was that whatever you wanted to be, you could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you could see them. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, athletes, you know, who live in the neighborhood, everybody. Pro basketball players, pro athletes, you know. I mean, Jason Kidd grew up 2 streets over from your mom. You know what I mean? We you know, I'm just, you know, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And so I'm just trying to teach him. But see, now he's 15. So I'm pretty much done on my teaching. I just don't want him to, get in any trouble or anything. Like, just, hey, man, just be cool. There's going to be a little bit more temptations now because pretty soon cats going to start driving. Like, watch your friend group. Because we did everything everybody else did. But no matter what, you can attest to this. Our friends always looked out for each other. Our real friends. Yeah. We always looked out for each other.
Yeah. No, it's
we
true.
Might look out for those people right over there. But we're looking out for each other.
Right.
Hands down. Without a doubt. Because guess what? I couldn't go back to Miss Gwen's house and Dr. Townsend's house and be like, man, look, I don't really know what happened. Look, you just can't. Like we protect each other. We protect ours. Mm-hmm. And it took me to get older to really appreciate how much sacrifice and how much my parents really, really loved me, and that's what because, you're not really from that generation, right? Like they weren't like, hey, we love you. I love you. That shit, man. Are you kidding me? But like, I tell my son every day, I love him. I tell my son he's great. I tell my son, hey man, cause he's tall. So sometimes he kind of tries to walk like he's, I said, hey man, stand up straight, man. You're a king, dude. You're David Lockett. You might not understand what that means. That might not mean anything to anybody else out here, but it means something to us.
Right.
You're David Lockett and you can be great. You want to be a pediatrician. So that's why I kind of mess him a little bit. I'd never do his schoolwork for him. I don't do his projects. I don't do any of that because he's got to do that himself. He's going to earn it all himself. But if he would need any help, I say, well, because nowadays this school, these kids are doing, man, I can't help you, but I know someone can. But he doesn't need it. And, but I try to be encouraging. I let him know I love him every day. He's big. He still likes to hug me. He likes to lean all on me. And I'm like, dude, man, you're really too big for all that. But hey, you take it while you can get it, right?
Oh,
you take it.
And I love other. There's certain days.
Until you're frail and old.
Oh, yeah. There's certain days it's just rough and it's hard. And he'll come in and, because we're talking about business stuff, he'll come in and then he's just about to leave. And I'm like, I need a hug. That's what I say. Like, and he'll come and he'll hug me. And there are days I look at him and I know he needs a hug. And, and that's just, and to me, that's forever.
Hey, look here. You know what they need to know? They need to know that their home is a safe place and that they're loved and they're cared for and they're protected here and they can be who they need to be.
Yeah.
Out there, you need to do all your other navigation. If we have too many problems out there, you let me know and then we'll take care of that too. But in here, you're loved, you're cherished, you're protected, and you're encouraged. Yeah. And so, like, I like I don't know, my son's mom died when he was 3 years old, Ash, and it's pretty much been me and him. And my wife now, my daughter's mom, but what I'm saying is I've been the most consistent person in his life. He's close to my sister. My sister died 2014. So, it's just been crazy. However, he's maybe a little bit too mature for his age at times. Not really, but he's almost just so cool. Like, I want to be like, man, like, are you okay? But I think if he wasn't, he would tell me he wasn't. But I don't know if he would or he wasn't, or would or wouldn't. But he's starting to come to me and talk to me about more stuff from time to time. And it's just fun to let him hop in my truck and hook his music up to the Bluetooth and, pick his little baby song out. And he's sitting over there and he knows all the words and he's doing his little thing. And it's like, man, dude, that's great, man. Enjoy yourself while you can.
Right.
Live life, be you, be you. That's, just do you. Do no harm and do you.
Yeah. No, it's true. All right, David, we want you to lean into that camera and we want you to say, I love myself.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the terms of the agreement.
I know. I heard this yesterday. I was watching Allie's. I'm like, I love myself. I'm trying to look at myself up here at the same time. I love myself. I do love myself today, though. You know, I think in a healthy way, not in a I'm the man way, you know. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the one thing about Oakland's kind of flamboyant, too. I'm one of the more flamboyant characters out of Oakland. I like, you know, I don't know, man. I'm just me. And
Beautiful.
I care for the people that I care for. And if I don't care for you, I don't care for you. But I'm trying to be more open. Like, it's funny you mentioned this. Like, I know we're trying to wrap this up, but, you know, I thought about, like, I saw a meme about, like, you know, it's like these two guys didn't get along in college or whatever. And here they are at homecoming. They're all smiling about like 30 years later. You just think about it. Like, somebody I didn't get along with when I was 15 years old. It's 39 years later. Like, maybe I could just be kind if I ran into this dude, you know, instead of being like, I never fool with you anyway.
Reason
No
not
need
to.
to start acting like we're cool now. And
Right.
that's kind of my line. I'm really grateful that somehow God has seen me to still be around here.
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that's what my life has to come down to. If I'm grateful, then I'm okay. If I'm not, and I think that every day, that's the beauty of the fire department. I don't work in like the best neighborhood, but you see stuff every day where if you can't find some gratitude instead of complaining about stuff, then that's what works. Like, I'm grateful for my wife. I can't tell you how grateful I am for my wife. I mean, my wife is the bomb. You guys would love my wife. She's fun. She's extremely smart. She's great. She's great, and she's a lot of fun to be. And I have a great companion, and that's what happens. Like, you know, without being graphic, you know what I mean. Other stuff is what it is, but like, you know, companionship is
Yeah.
like, you know, I like to go places. I like to go, you know, and I like to see people too. Like, when we go to, you know, if you go to Jamaica, don't stay in the resort, man. That's fine. But you know, at some point, get out here and go to the market and see what's up. And then, you know, other people, I don't know. I wouldn't go out there if I were you. Like, you, man, look, I've been everywhere with my gold chains and my watches and all this other stuff. And I walk out there just like I walk any place else. Because I don't wear your jewelry for what? I'm from Oakland. If they didn't steal in Oakland, they're not going to steal it in Montego Bay. You know, and you can't have fear.
Yeah.
You just go and you hang out.
Yeah.
Oh, and man, at the end of the day, I'm really just happy to be here. I wish my sister was here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I wish for. I mean, when you talk to your brother, tell your brother I love him.
I will.
I love that dude. He was one of my heroes.
I love you so much, David.
I love you too.
I love you more than you know.
See, sometimes stuff's been hard.
It has.
But if you can look up, you can get up. And I love you too. And I mean, we go back probably as long as I can remember. That counts. You know, who remembers third grade? So that doesn't count, you know.
only the bullies.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, man, I'm just extremely grateful, and I've been really, really blessed. I've been blessed by so many things that could happen. I could talk about it forever, but you know, I'm not really super religious as far as going to church, but I do have my own personal connection with my God. And my God's a loving and forgiving God. If he wasn't, he couldn't deal with me. and I just really believe that everything happens for a reason. All these intersections are for a reason. I mean, like, you and I have always had great energy. Your family, everything, man. I mean, like, oh man. I mean, your family treated me like I was a member of your family.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for real. When my dad died, your mom and your dad were at my house every night with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking and laughing and cutting up. And oh man. And so, like, you know, we've always had a really, really good connection. I loved Enid. Enid was cool as shit.
Yeah.
She was funny. She was cool. She was beautiful. She looked like all you guys. I mean, like David looked like a little black movie star back in the day. Could hoop, smart, funny. So, I'm glad we had this opportunity to really sit back and really talk. I mean, I'm grateful for the COVID for stuff like this. Because, see, around your real folks, you can't help but to be authentic, right? See, other people don't know you like you know me. Other people don't know me. I can't build these bonds at this stage in my life with people where I am right now. So I have to see you guys. I got to talk to Keith. I got to see you. I've got to talk to Earl Barrington sometimes. I got to talk to Felix, that's just how this works. I have the Eric Goodwin, Billy Rogers. I have more fun like laughing with them. Ben Ross, Pete Ross, like you're people that really know you. You can have a good time and be you and just laugh and say what you got to say. Like, oh man, there goes D again. It's like, yeah, there I go again. But I love you, Ash. I haven't met you, man, but I'm looking forward to meet you sometime. I loved what you said about energy yesterday.
Thank you.
And sometimes I have negative energy because I'm caught up right now in some of this bullshit that's going on. And sometimes even 54, I'm still looking for a problem. I'm walking big like Allie some days out here where I'm at. I wish you would say something. But then I really don't, because what do I look like 54 catching a case, man, in Hanover County, Virginia, no emotional sobriety, don't know how to handle my emotions, and now I'm in trouble. My life right now is too good for anything to get in the way.
Yeah.
Just is like, man, I'm still here, and I love the people that I love, and the people that I love me, and that's the most important thing.
Right. Really.
You made me cry, Courtney, damn it. You better hit edit. No, I'm just kidding. I don't give a shit about that. I don't. So what?
All
hey,
right.
man, everybody cry. I love you guys. Have a great day, man. And you know what? Man, I'm honored you asked me to do this. I don't know how this comes out or what it is, but I told my wife, I said, man, my friend, because she knows who you are. I said, man, Courtney wants me to do this podcast. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. But I was like, she said, well, I'm sure you'll do fine. She is a great supporter. And, man. Let me put my glasses on now. My man, I keep taking care of my friend, man. My sister.
I will.
Keep shining, you guys, too, man.
All right.
Let's get this and see how we can get together somehow.
Well, yeah.
Definitely. Sure. All right. I love you.
I love you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
Tell your wife I said hi.
I will. Big Ash, man. I see you, baby. I see you flexing back there. That's right. Let them know.
Oh, my God. That's so ridiculous. All right. Bye, D.
Bye. All right. See you later. Oh, man.